Recording. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on another Architalk, 20th Architalk by Meaghan White. I think today you're going to listen to a different talk as you have seen the poster for Meaghan's basically speech. It would be different, I suppose, and really beautiful and outstanding projects that Meaghan is going to share with us. But before we start, I would like to invite everyone to have a look to our Architalk website, architalk.org. So all the previous talks are recorded there, and you can just have access to the previous speeches. If I may ask Justin, Justin was the person who connected me to Meaghan. Can you please introduce Meaghan, and then we would invite her to just start. Thank you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good to, well, not see you as such, but to know that you're out there in cyberspace. I was just going to very quickly say that I know unfortunately, only three of the three houses that Meaghan has designed. In each case, they seem to have fitted their clients, the brief, the site, and the ability to live in them as a family, as well as just individuals, incredibly well. They're lovely spaces, very individual in each case. And I'm really looking forward to this lecture. So without anything else, without sort of delaying it any further, let me introduce you, Meaghan White. There you go.
Am I? Hi. Thanks, Justin and Parissa. I was asked to do this talk by Justin from the perspective of being an architect, builder, and a working mum. And I should put can I put the image up, Parissa?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that right now.
Okay.
There you go.
Excellent. And this image is actually my screensaver. And I would say it sums up my perspective on this topic. Please don't misinterpret this, but I do love architecture and I love what I do. It's just that trying to do everything the best you possibly can really gets exhausting sometimes. And no matter how many coffees or wines, a lot of the days at the end, I feel a bit like this. Angie Niemi, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, is a Norwegian fine art photographer, and she works alone, photographing, staging, and acting out the characters in all her images. I love her work, so I've used a few in this presentation. So my plan today was not to talk to you about my projects or discuss any design post justifications of any of my projects, or tell you how old my kids are and how much I love them, etc., etc. I thought it would be good if I could maybe help you understand the next steps that you may or may not take once you've finished your degree. This was a great idea until yesterday, when I realised my talk wasn't long enough. So Parissa has convinced me to add a few projects at the end that we can skip through. If we don't get to these slides, you can just check out my website and Instagram. Okay, this is more set up for the graduates. So where to now? So you've graduated and you are a blue Smurf, because I was in Denmark on holidays and I typed in with very low Wi-Fi graduating female architect, and this is the only image that came up, which is a bit sad. So you're a blue Smurf, and you can be a male Smurf as well if you want to. It's just I'm trying to have a bit of a female perspective on this talk. When I graduated, my class was 55% female. That was before they invented cars, of course. It's so believable to me today that only 31% of registered architects are females, but that's a completely different discussion. Now, as a graduating student, you probably have no idea that what you'll be doing next. Unless you're one of the following subjects. A, Dad is an architect and has his own firm. Subject B, your parents are wealthy and your first project is going to be designing their holiday house. Or subject C, so incredibly talented that you'll be snapped up by the only hiring firm in Perth. So if you're not subject A, B or C, this may be a helpful guide for you. The reason you don't know what your next step is, traditionally there are not a lot of jobs for architects. It seems that other professions, such as medicine, law and engineering, put regulations in place so that it is mandatory for their profession to be sourced an appropriate payment for this professional service. Imagine what our cities and suburbs would look like if it was mandatory to use an architect. Anyway, I digress. Back to employment. Well, there's always some blimp in the road. Today it's COVID. Before you were probably born, we had the 1990s recession, and following that, the GFC. I graduated after the early 90s recession in Adelaide. No one graduating from my class even expected to get a job. Most moved to Asia to get work. I didn't even apply for an architecture job. I got an extra waitressing job to save up money with the expectation that I would get to Singapore or Kuala Lumpur at some stage. After 6 years of studying, this was a little disappointing. But back to you, the Blue Smurf. Well, what's next? How do you get from Blue Smurf to happy architect so proud of his or her latest project? The first thing to realise, it is probably not going to be a straight arrow unless you were from the subject A to C group. And I'm sorry to say that this road may be a little jagged, and especially if you're female, but this is changing and getting better. I found that when I left uni, and I see it in the graduates that I've worked with, is that you don't really know that much. You have learnt a lot of things that will become more evident and influence you over time. However, your value as a graduate to the real working world is pretty light on. So, my biggest advice is source information. Don't pretend you know stuff when you don't. We don't expect you to know everything. Ask questions, ask a lot of questions. Google, we didn't have that when I was younger. If you don't know, Google it. Again, ask questions. Builders and trades. I learnt most of everything I know from trades and working with them. They are the specialists in what they do, and you need to know a lot of what they know. So, yeah, builders and trades are your best bet. The other thing is build something, and I'll get back to this a little bit later. The arrow also represents lots of ups and downs. I desperately tried to get out of architecture. I dabbled in advertising, urban design, and I also went to the dark side and worked for a developer. That's me as a stormtrooper behind Darth Vader. Which actually the experience made me realise that I did really want to be an architect and I couldn't really be anything else. What I'm trying to express is that it's okay to try lots of different things, and the road may be bumpy, and that's okay, as it helps you get closer to understanding what fits with you best. Back to the Smurf. Big firms are a good way to get experience, but you need to throw yourself in. You will get stuck doing some crappy jobs, but this helps you to build up your skills. Traditionally in big firms, for some reason, being female makes you better at doing tile layouts and picking wallpaper. Don't be a wallflower. Get on-site jobs and try and move around as much as you can in the separate divisions in a big firm so you can learn as much as possible. As a female junior on a shopping-centred team, my job was doing the tile layout for Garden City and Carousel shopping centre. And I still cringe when I have to take the kids there. But it is part of the journey. Additionally, travel as much as you can. Architecture and interior architecture are great professions to see the world, and it's a lot harder to do later with a family in tow if this is your future plan. Back to build something. The biggest learning experience I ever had was building my own home. Well, it was kind of renovating and extending. And my advice is to do this as soon as you can. I was pregnant with a 1-year-old in tow, which is not really advisable, but try and do it as early as possible. It doesn't have to be a house. It can be a unit or your mum's unit. It could be a cubby house if you want to. In the last 13 years, I have been building my own homes, working as a sole practitioner, as well as being a mum. And this diversification I have really enjoyed. The first house I renovated and extended went into a number of magazines, and I started getting phone calls. I never intended to run my own practice. To be honest, it was never anything I thought was even possible. My message to all of you as future graduates is that if this is a dream of yours, it is possible. I now get to work in my Ugg boots and don't have to catch trains or buses. My travel time is less than 10 seconds. This is my former office I built on the rear lane of our Cottesloe house, and I'm no longer there, so I desperately miss it. It had amazing views of the pines, and it was just a beautiful space to be in. This is the big one. Working for yourself does have some major benefits, especially if you plan on being a parent. You have no excuse to miss school assemblies, sports days, and if anyone is sick in your family, you are there, which sometimes can be frustrating as well as awesome. It's taken me over 13 years to reach a balance. Life is short, don't be like me. Don't take this long. Stop and smell the roses along the way. Okay, recap. The road forward may be bumpy. Ask lots of questions. Don't be a wallflower. Build something if you can. From little things, big things grow. And stop and smell the roses on the way. I've got 3 more little snippets that I'd like to share with you. I worked with one builder for 10 years until he retired. He taught me most of what I know, but this was his greatest gift to me. As architects, we are creators, but also problem solvers. The three-story spiral stair for this job was getting fabricated in Adelaide, put on a truck, and shipped over to Perth. We were craning in the stair from the roof, and the roof had been left off this 3-story house. The contractor pulled out at the last minute. And as Trevor said, Meaghan, there's never a problem, just a myriad of solutions. We built the stair, but yeah, we found a solution. It was a pretty scary ride. Another important thing to me is support each other. Architecture has traditionally been a male-dominated field with lots of egos, and it kind of still is a bit. It's changing, and I've noticed that there's a lot more sharing of ideas and supporting each other in the younger architects coming through. Simone Robson, Carly Barrett, Jen Lowe, Kate Fitzgerald, and the State of King girls are just some of my contemporaries that I know would have my back. This is something that I've never experienced previously in this profession, and it gives me so much joy to think that this will continue. Support each other, not just sharing ideas, but simple things like liking someone's work on Instagram or words of encouragement. If you admire a project someone has done, tell them. As an industry that wants to create a better world for everyone, why don't we also start with each other? Support not just other architects, but other designers and the industry that supports us, and other industries that support us. We did a project at Aston Hill in Mosman Park, and before we even had moved any soil, I asked April Pine if she would work with us and create some pieces. This is called Flutter, and it's the most beautiful piece, and it sits in the garden. It no longer sits there with the new owner, but it has been moved to even a better spot within the suburb. Support each other. Another initiative is Open House Perth. I'm a big advocate for this. This forum gives us the ability to show good design and architecture to everybody, every person, not just who we think can afford it. Everybody gets to see how their lives could be better if they had an architect or if they had a good design as part of their process. If you're not part of Open House Perth, try to be part of it and become part and help continue this great initiative. Okay, my last one. Treasure this gift. Through design and what you do, you get to affect people's lives in a very positive way. You also create homes, buildings that people and families will create memories in for years and years to come. You get to share this gift with your friends and family. A great joy I have is showing my kids what I create. It's tangible, they can see it, they can walk through it. A good friend of mine who is an accountant once said to me, at the end of the year, you have created a home and I've created a balance sheet. So, I hope sharing some advice and some snippets of advice I would give to my younger architect self is helpful. The road may be bumpy, but stay true to yourself. Don't be pushed around and persevere. Now, I probably have a lot more time, which I do. So I do have some projects that we could have a look through, and I'll show you some of the fun bits because I always like to put a bit of fun into all my projects. So this is Princess Street in Cottesloe. This is the one with the spiral staircase. I was so fortunate to be able to pick the site with the clients and a family with two energetic young boys. I picked the site and I thought that we could get views to Rottnest from, or we thought we could get views to Rottnest from the upper level. You can get views to Rottnest from every room in this house except for the laundry. And sometimes it's not necessarily the architecture, it's a lot to do with the planning, pushing the boundaries, reaching for the stars a bit. This house, although it's probably 10 years old, it's still one of my favourite houses to visit. It has views forever. The fun bits in this is it has a great circular stair which goes down to the basement level. It's got a bookcase with a bar that pulls out. You can turn the space into a nightclub. It's lots of fun. This is one of our houses. This is Meaghan Street in Cottesloe. This is an example of, it was an old bungalow cum Federation house that it had a lot of work on. And we lived in that for quite a while and saved our pennies, and we built a modern structure to the rear, and then we moved into the modern structure and renovated the bungalow. So, at some stages the kids were living in the garage, and we did a lot of work ourselves. So sometimes it is hard, but the journey's worth it. This is the extension to the Meaghan Street. That upper section is actually my office, my old office. We used a lot of recycled material. There was an old lean-to on this house that we dismantled and kept and reused a lot of that. We're on quite a sloping block, so I did spend a bit of money putting the pool window in, which makes the yard look a lot bigger. We used a lot of colour, which was fun. And of course the studio, which was beautiful. Kat's house. Kat lived in London for 20 years. She was an ex-Perth girl and she owned a block in West Ladyville. She approached me and she wanted to create, you know, her forever home. And even though the lot was only 416 square metres, being close to the city, I realised that I could create 2 homes on that and 2 separate titles. This was a real key to this project, and trying to convince the client that that was the way to go. What we then created was a studio, or a self-contained studio that does have a separate title, and Kat's house at the front, which is a 3x2 house, but only its total floor area is 162 square metres. It was open for Open House Perth if you managed to go through it. At the back, it's a single bed studio, which has also an office and a double garage. And I'm lucky enough now to be designing their retreat or holiday house down south. So, yeah, get good clients, they go forever. This is a few pictures from that project. The studio, the skulls, a bit of fun. Kat's partner has a skull ring as his wedding ring, so we used that on the boundary wall. The scissor stairs, that was because the cat wanted to have a swim in the pool late at night and then go back to her bedroom. So we also used the stair as a sculptural element, and also to provide a bit more visual break between the road and the pool. That worked really well. And just another one of going up the stairs. We kept all the services, bathrooms, to the south side, and that way we could do off-form ceilings, and that way we increased the heights in all the rooms. Even though it's a compact building, it feels really spacious. Some of the fun bits in this, we worked with I like to work with spray paint artists as well. So we had a WA spray paint artist called Sasa, and we worked with her to pick out a couple of pictures. As you drive into the double garage, she has a winking girl, which is quite cute. This is a house in Cottesloe, again, on a small narrow lot with 11-metre frontage. And they wanted a double garage, and a double garage is 6 metres, which then only leaves you 5 metres left. So on a tight budget, we decided to spend a lot of the money sinking the garage and then making the house quite compact. So you actually walk straight into the kitchen, but Lion Street itself is a real community-based street. The kids play cricket, and it doesn't have a lot of traffic. So the ability to interact with the street was really, really important, which we really achieved here. We've got the study and the kitchen to the south side. The fun bits on this project was we have a ramp to the entry, which is used by the kids as a skateboard ramp, and the whole kitchen window lifts up and it becomes a neighbourhood bar, which is used very frequently. And another artist, not a spray paint artist this time, an artist called Lucas Grogan did the front door, and he also did some work internally, which looks fantastic. This is looking out towards the street, as you can see, quite open. And yeah, a lot of the houses I do are family, and they're meant to be relaxed and lived in, and a bit of fun at the same time. This is the house. Justin stayed in this. I designed the clients an extension to their Perth house, and they bought a beautiful block down in Quindalup between the inlet and the beach. And again, a tight budget, but they wanted to do 2 things. They wanted to be able to see the inlet and the beach as you walk up to the house, and they wanted to provide a building that was provided with escapism, I suppose. So the house is really different to their Perth house. It's all ply-lined. It nestles in between the peppermints. There was no building on this block previously, and there were a lot of peppermint trees. We kept all of them except one. The building is a Z shape, and it zigzags between the peppermints. It was also designed so that 2 families could come down and be independent of each other. So if one of your kids has got time out, that's not going to affect the other family. So you can live as a cohabitate without upsetting each other. And in the middle is a big family space. Again, this is under 200 square metres, this whole footprint, and it sleeps 14 people. So it's quite tight, but it does have a real feel of spaciousness. The fun bits in this project, or when you have second-time clients and they're good friends, you can really do anything you want. So we had fun with this, with the angles, with seating and the views, which are beautiful. We finished this project a year and a bit ago, I think, Alston Hill. It's 2 houses. This is a really interesting project from a medium density perspective. The government are trying to get suburbs to increase their densities. Mosman Park town planning scheme was changing, and we purchased a corner block with a client with the idea of subdividing it, building 2 homes on smaller blocks and showcasing what a home on a smaller block would look like. Because what was happening is a lot of these blocks were getting subdivided and people were putting builders' products slap in the middle of them with 1 metre or 1.5 metre circulation space around the outside. And we all know this can be done a lot better. So the fun bits, before I show you the plans on this, was we have, in both houses, we have a gold zigzag stair, which is the main artery of up and down, and links, there's an activity room, a rumpus room upstairs that looks over the park, so it links these 2 spaces together really easily. We've got a lot of feature brickwork. One house is more off-form white concrete, the other is a lot of brickworks, Chillingham brick, and we've got zigzags and curves, and and a roof deck, which was also a lot of fun. So this was a little bit of just a diagrammatic of what we did. This is the existing house. It just had a small 2-storey extension. It had 50% site cover. It was an over 800 square metre block. There wasn't anything worth keeping in the existing house. So this was the permitted development. This was the 2 separate blocks, one facing north and one facing south. So the challenge really was to make sure that both got a lot of north sun. Okay, these are the 2 homes. Actually, when you're the architect for both homes, it's just so much easier. So privacy was also a big issue, but you control that because you're doing both. Getting a massive northern area in 400 square metres, which feels like a huge part of the house, plus a swimming pool. And a lot of north light does get into the southern house. We got on the roof of the house before it was demolished, the existing house, and we thought that we could get views to Rottnest, the port, and to the park across the road. And so we decided to do a roof deck, which also increased the outdoor space by having that secondary outdoor space that you can go to. We do have views to Rottnest and the port. It's quite beautiful. The block is also positioned on the top of a hill, so capturing the Fremantle Doctor was also another huge consideration, and I don't think we need to use our aircon in these houses. I don't know if they have used it actually. And we also have a Tesla system, solar system, and battery backup as well, which runs everything. So here's the 2 homes, and this isn't much greenery, as you can see. 44% site cover, 75% open space, and 27% urban canopy coverage. Project, I think, was really fantastic, but I'm a bit biased, of course. I don't have a photo actually of the 2 together, so you can see on the right-hand side the north house, and then you can see a curved wall, and that's where the curved wall sort of starts on the south side. There was a beautiful existing gum tree on the south side, which we used, and we put mirrored film on the big glass window upstairs, and it mirrors the tree reflection at night. And we used the colours of the trees to inform the colours inside the house. These are some pictures of the house. So you can see the gold film that reflects the tree. That's actually the master bedroom, so it gives a lot of privacy to that room as well. The scissor stair was a bit unusual, the position of it, and it was put on the outside so that you always felt, even if you're upstairs, you're still connected to downstairs. And you'll see also the stair up to the roof deck, which had a glazed hatch on it. So it also acts as a skylight. And little things like, that's actually my handwriting. I wrote 34C Aston Hill, and we had that made out of steel that was slightly bronzed. And that sets, it looks beautiful in the light against the zigzag brick wall. How am I going for time? Good, I'm early. This is my current home and my new latest personal project. In our office, we run client projects, and this is Wiriana, which was designed by Talbot Hobbs. The single-story section is 1897, and then he had 10 kids, so they built a two-story section. We're the third owners in 120 years, which is, I can't believe how lucky we are. And our job now is to renovate this and bring it back to its former glory. So my office is behind the single-story section in a 1930s extension that was part of the house. And yeah, that's on the drawing board as we speak. That's the end of my talk. Thank you very much. This is kind of also how I feel by the time we get to the weekend. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks. That was great. I really enjoyed the fact that each of your houses and projects had its own interesting character, and you actually designed for families. Most of the projects were like you really considered that for families, and that was really beautiful. If I may, well, I have a question, but maybe let me just see if there is any question for you on the chat box from others. Well, there are lots of commendation. Sally Matthews, great, thank you, beautiful work. Justin, that was great. Meaghan, thank you. Hard to imagine a better desired outcome from Baron. So lots of thank yous for you, Meaghan.
Thank you.
I think you talked about the bumpy road for female architects. Can you tell us how, like maybe giving us an example of how you overcome one or some of those challenges as you were trying to manage your family and be on top of your career, and whether you had any career pauses or not. How did you manage that?
I think most of the struggles of when I was working in the bigger firms and trying to get opportunities, I once didn't get chosen for a particular project, and I was really disappointed, and I went up to one of the directors. It was a Friday afternoon, and I think he had been to lunch. But I said, oh, I'm really disappointed I didn't get on that project team. And he said, what's the point in training you when you're going to get married and go and have babies? Ooh. I was actually standing next to one of my colleagues at the time. And I mean, this is 20, no, I'm trying to think. It is 20 years ago. And he actually grabbed my hand and said, pulled me aside and said, walk with me. And he actually now is the managing director of that firm. And I actually quit on the Monday and went and worked at another company. I didn't really know what the solution was, I suppose. I thought, well, I can't stay here. I'm not going to do or be where I want to be. And I think, but that is 20 years ago, and I think things have changed so much in that time. So I would say to the graduates now, I think you're in a really great space to be coming into architecture, because that has changed a lot, and that attitude has changed a lot as well. So, yeah, I don't think they'll come up against as much. The juggling is, since I had children, I've been working for myself. So it's more the juggling with kids, that you're trying to work, but you've got to be at a school assembly, or you've got 2 kids at home. But then because I'm my own boss in that situation, it makes it a lot easier. I can choose to work late at night if I have to. But if I was working for a company, I think that would be a little bit frustrating.
Thank you. Yes, and you beautifully managed that. Apparently, it is really apparent from your projects. Does anyone have any question for Meaghan? Feel free to turn on your microphone or just type your questions and I can read it out. Sally Matthews, companies can too be life friendly. Yes, that's right. Justin?
Yeah, I had a question, Meaghan. I mean, it sort of comes down to kind of, I mean, having been in some of those houses and experienced them both at different times of the day and year, it comes down to how you use materials. Because I found something about the house in Quindelup which is so satisfying in a way, is the unification that you get, even though you've got these separate spaces, the unity that's provided by having that continuous ply inside, which is lovely. But then at Ashton Hill, that sort of richness of materials that sort of connect the inside and the outside, like the gold film that reflects the tree, is really, I think that's something I'd like you to talk about if you have a few minutes, in terms of how you think of materials and their use.
Yeah, especially with Quindelup, I don't know about you, Justin, but when you walk into Quindelup, I think the use of the ply and the timber, it feels really relaxed. But actually, wasn't where I used the ply more from a the clients didn't want to have to do anything when they go to a holiday house. So I find people go to their holiday house, they've got to do the lawns, they've got to clean this, they've got to repaint one room because the kids have been doing something. So I picked the ply for a couple of reasons. One, because it was a warm feeling, but also there's no maintenance. So that house was all about, there's no gutters on that house. It's all about just completely low maintenance. But that material then has the low maintenance, but then of course it makes you feel, it just makes you feel different to what most of the city, if you're in a city house. So a lot of the city houses are, do have, it just feels like a holiday house. Sorry. Yeah. Materials with Alston, we were fortunate enough to work with Brickworks, and they were fortunate, or we were lucky to get the Chillingham bricks at a good price, and they worked with us in that we used it on the boundary wall, and we used it inside and out, so it goes from the kitchen right round and creates an outdoor fresco. And again, that has a lot of warmth with it, and yeah, it really worked in that job. I actually loved the gold. I thought that was my token Rosman part. Bit of shiny, bright stuff for them. So yeah.
There's a really kind of nice sort of Hollywood feel to that, sort of some of those materials, and the brick patterning as well.
Yeah.
Sort of 40s, 50s Hollywood. But just one thing you reminded of when you were talking. Alessio Finney came to give us a lecture last week in one of the 4th, 5th year studios, and he said what he emphasised, he's doing a house in the corner of Broome and John at the moment, and it's mostly a refurbishment. And something he said was so critical was finding good builders who are actually inventive and experienced to work with.
Yeah, if you can get good builders are gold. And especially builders that want to share. The builder that I was just very fortunate to find, Trevor, and he would work through solutions with you. He was very much a team player, and at the end of the day, you're all producing this product, you know, whether it's for a family and you need to work together and collaborate, and you can learn so much. And you can even it comes down to saving money as well. You can save so much money if you work with the builder closely, collaborate on how to do something better, and you get a better outcome. So yes, I know that project because Marmion Street is just down from there, and I know that I think he's on to his second builder, but it's quite,
Yes.
it's quite and it's been in construction for a long time. He's done an interesting job though. I really like. I'd be interested to see it in the end. It's coming along really well. So.
No, I think that was the second builder was maybe the one who sort of made it sort of much more doable.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Thank you, Meaghan.
No worries. Okay. Lee?
Hi, how you doing? I've not got my camera on, but Meaghan, I love your work. I've loved it since I first went to open house. I should probably put on my camera if I can. But what I wanted to
Sorry, Lee, I can't hear you.
Sorry, my microphone.
Okay.
You have fun bits in all of your projects, which I love to see, and you seem to work with artists. I was just wondering what your design approach is. Do you have a kind of way that you look at each project before you start? You've obviously got a bit of sense of humour because I love the photos you've used by. So, yeah, I just wonder if you could talk to that at all.
I think it mainly comes up during the process. Like if we, you know, I work closely with the clients at the beginning, and a lot of the fun bits kind of come from them. They have an idea, and then I run with it. And some don't always come to fruition, and some do. We've got a project on the boards at the moment in Trig, and Brickworks have brought out this beautiful breezeway block, but it's not a traditional breezeway. It's a new take on a breezeway block, and we are going to have heaps of fun with that. And it was sort of, do you like this? They liked it. Then we go, well, what crazy stuff can we do with it? And they were like, yeah, let's do crazy stuff. A lot of it comes back to the clients too. Pick your clients. It's very important to me that you get on and you, obviously, but it's very important that you have a synergy and a feeling for them, because it's such a long journey and you become such a part of their lives that you need to have that connection. And I think a lot of my clients have a good sense of humour, I think, because that kind of comes out in the house. So, yeah.
I think you must, I know those beautiful breeze blocks that Brickworks have. I work quite closely with them as well. I love Brickworks. I wonder, do you sort of collect things in the back of your mind, sort of see things and think, oh, I'd like to use that next time or something like that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, all the time. And I actually, if a client sometimes doesn't like something, I think, oh, next project. Yeah. But I do think a lot of it just comes out of the process, working with them. I don't come with a preconceived idea. I think they come in and they bring their own life and their whole, you know, family situation or whatever it is, and then from them we just, these little snippets. Everyone's so different, so it's good to grab onto some of these things and go, right, well, you guys are different because of this, and how can we make this a part of your house and a part of the journey? So.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I think we have done that.
Yeah, we asked students to, and you probably remember when you were back at uni, you sort of had to come up with concepts or narratives or ideas. And certainly we're doing a lot more practical stuff. So the students are starting to lose that. It becomes sort of absolutely about what the client brief is and, you know, what are the requirements. But there seems to still be some sort of concepts or ideas, or maybe not, maybe, you know, it's just an evolution, it's just client stuff. But would you be able to describe your work? Do you think, have you got an overall summary of, someone said, what sort of architecture you do? Can you answer that? That's a really hard
Oh, yeah, no, I can. I don't have, you know how some architects have a particular style? I think is it Blaine Brackenridge? He has a really great style, and when you go to him, you know that you kind of have an idea of what your house will be like. And I think that's great for clients if they say, "Yep, I love that architect. That's what I want." I don't have a particular style. I try and take myself out of the process if I can, and try and evolve style through them. So, I mean, I think Pinterest is the most amazing thing. Like, so a client and I will collaborate on something, and from that, the design stems. Does that make sense? So the house is very individual and very more about them and less about me.
Fantastic, great answer. Yeah, Pinterest is a good thing these days, isn't it? You share ideas and.
Oh, just the sharing of ideas and seeing what other people are doing, and it actually makes you step up a bit. I feel it makes you think, oh my God, people are doing such amazing work. I've got to get my act together.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Meaghan.
No worries. Thank you.
Baron has asked, if budget is a constraint, what approach is taken for the best design outcome? Is material finishes a priority, for example?
This is a really good question. So budget, so important. I think students come out, and I don't know if you think that needs to be a bigger part of the education, because the budget is a major driving force in the design. And so you come in, you've got the budget with the clients, and then what you're doing then is working out, because what is the most important things to them. And from that process, you can then choose to, okay, we're going to spend a bit of money there, we're going to spend a bit of money here, we're going to make this space smaller because it could be a study and a spare room, or when the kids are a bit older, it's going to evolve into this space. So a lot of my houses have quite small footprints, except for probably even Alston Hill wasn't huge. And then we've spent the money on creating beautiful spaces rather than creating lots of space. And even with this Trig project, we're spending the money on our breeze blocks and what we're kind of doing with them. But our construction is painted white brick for the main house. So it's a continuous juggle of choosing what's important, what's going to make their life different, and what can we change and keep fairly basic to still fit the brief. And if you pull that together really well, not a lot of people could tell you where they saved the money and where they didn't. So that's kind of, does that answer the question? Sorry.
Yes, I think.
Yeah, I think budget is something that at university we were never taught about, and then in real life it becomes, the number two in the whole process. And you also have to keep referring back to it all the time. Okay, how much is that? How much is that? No, we need to get rid of that. Can't afford that. Right, what else can we afford? Da, 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 da. I do all the interiors as well. So we don't have an interior designer. Our team is the interior designer. So that the flow of design inside and out is really important to me, which is why I like doing the whole lot of it. And colour, or like I say, materials, it's important that flows through the whole design idea. So and that budget, that we can afford things at the end of the day, beautiful light fittings or whatever the client likes. That's why I can try and control it early on so that we can still have a little bit left at the end to make it those finishing touches part of the beautiful design.
Great, thank you. There's another question. Nassim has asked, you have such a lovely designs in some of your projects. Exposed wooden material is used for interiors, such as 82-degree house project. Is there any strategy used for fire regulations or soundproofing for those houses? Hope it's not a silly question.
No, actually, there is a lot of sound transmission, to be honest, in 82 degrees. So we should have used more sound bats in that project. That is, when I always go, I'm quite critical on my projects when I go back and think how would I do that better next time. The timber, yeah, there are a lot of hard surfaces in 82 degrees. And there is a lot of sound reverberation, but we've softened it up with a lot of the internal furnishings, which helps. Yeah, I think that answers that. I'm not sure. Yeah, I do like using timber on the inside of buildings. It does give a warmth, or changing materials. It just makes it feel warmer. And these days it's so cost effective to do burnished concrete slabs rather than timber floors that you do need that warmth as well to counteract the semi-coldness of the burnished slabs.
Great. Okay.
Excellent.
I think, do we have any other questions from anyone? Okay, I think no. So we can close the session here. Much appreciated, Meaghan, once again for your insight, and we really enjoyed seeing your projects. I'm really glad you actually included some of your examples because I know people could always go to your website and Instagram, but it's nice to see, those amazing photos and, your approach on designing each of those with its own character and so on. So thank you so much for spending time for including those.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Excellent.
Thanks. Have a great day.
See you.
See you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.